Recording.
Okay, cool.
Hello and welcome to Mixed Nuts.
Mixed Nuts. Mixed Nuts.
We have video game. You can't hear me, well, you can't see me. You sure can hear me, though.
I hope they can hear you.
How's my audio levels doing, Chris?
Your audio levels look pretty alright.
Wonderful. I just know.
Looking pretty green. Jelly
Just
bean.
try not to get too close in there.
I'll try not to get too close.
Matt just looks me right in the eyes and just backs up.
I just shift 3 inches backwards. I'm really sorry that you guys can't see me. My webcam isn't working correctly.
Vision in the tiny
corner. I'm actually not showing up right now at all because I don't know what happened to my picture, but I can try to add it back in somewhere. And it's gone. Whatever.
Well,
I don't know. OBS is weird.
Later.
Hey, Josh. Face swap one of us.
Hey.
Yeah.
You're like inside Chad's microphone, like little holder. It's interesting, and Chad's hands are actually in your way. So if you would, there we go. All right.
Put your hands down, Chad.
Well, where's the camera coming from?
Camera's right over here.
Oh.
Yeah, right?
Hi, guys.
Well, hi there.
Yeah, so we have...
For you audio-only listeners, I'm sorry.
Hi, Chris.
Chad.
Jushu Uptun, or Josh.
And
Fingers. Alessandro ain't here today. He's got things to do, places to go, people to be.
Alessandro will be reporting back with a lot of information from PAX East, because that's this coming weekend, and that's where he's at.
Took his right off over there.
So next week when we talk about it on the podcast, you get to hear about all the things you've already heard about.
Probably.
Maybe.
Or maybe you didn't, depending on how trendy you are.
Or maybe you consider us your best source of
your news,
which I don't know why you would. But
can you imagine someone like, well, I went to Mixed Nuts the other day, and I'll tell you what goofy, secondhand, garbled information garbage that I learned.
I learned that The Warriors is a good film.
The Warriors, a film from the 80s. Like, specifically, my section would be very interesting to be like, have you guys ever watched Death Wish before?
You should watch more new films.
I probably you shouldn't, because most of them are real bad.
Surprise, Josh watched another film with Idris Elba in it, because it seems like all of them have Idris Elba.
No, they don't. Yes, they do. I love him.
Idris Elba.
Idris Elba's great. Love.
10 out of 10. Go to his IMDb page. Is that how you discover?
Watch the new Jungle Book movie that he's in.
I already watched it.
Not. He's not actually in the film, so I can't see his beautiful face.
I was gonna say I watched it.
I thought he was
pretty good.
I haven't heard anything about it. It's good.
Good. Really good.
So talking about things that other people have seen and have been given reviews, I've heard Star Fox Zero has been a little rough.
Oh yeah, it's been like
those controls.
Hey, Chad, don't whisper into the microphone.
Yeah, we need
There's
to.
really no reason to do that.
What you guys say about that, Chad?
I mean, I haven't played it, but it's pretty much what happens when you take Star Fox 64 and go, hey, this was a good idea, and you plop it out in the world, and it's not really anything we didn't expect, but we kind of hoped not.
I read Polygon's almost review because the guy was like, I played half the game and I don't want to play any more of it, so you aren't going to get a review from this site.
Yikes!
Ouch.
Yeah. I feel like that's almost like against reviewer integrity, but that's just me.
Not really.
I don't know.
I mean, if something's so bad that you don't,
I think that gives itself away.
Yeah, if something's so bad that you don't want to finish playing it, that in and of itself speaks volumes. About.
He talks about,
but people play Pets 2 Kitty Adventure, and they'll finish the game for a review.
Pets 2 Kitty Adventure is
not even kidding. Was that with a DS? I think I own that game.
The GBA.
Oh damn. Okay. Anyways, yeah, that's too bad. I like Star Fox. It's got animal guys.
I haven't seen that review though, but
I really would suggest reading
it.
Mostly, it's about the controls. I think he summed it up as, it feels like it's a launch title Wii U game where the developers were told to shoehorn in as many of the weird new controls that they had available.
I mean, that's what I've heard, but again, I can't really comment until I play it.
Yeah.
So if I play it, it's a pile of hot steaming garbage. I'll be the first to admit it because I love Star Fox.
And this person's also been I really like Star Fox 64 and some of these other games.
Why don't you main Fox in Melee if you love Fox so much?
Because Falco's better.
That's not true.
How about James McLeod?
Dude,
gotta get those sweet shades on.
Yeah, you gotta get those sweet shades on Fox. You gotta beat the game and you gotta ace
Smash Bros.
Ace.
You gotta get the points up at the right number so you can get this on foot mode.
I love, dude. On foot mode is the crazy. I didn't even know that existed till a year ago, and I was like, what?
What is this?
You can in Star Fox 64 in the multiplayer, you can go on foot.
Really?
For like no reason if you like ace the game.
You want to hear the dumbest thing?
What's the besides on foot mode?
No. Yes. In the new game, in the Landmaster, you can like transform like back into like a ship for like a limited period of time.
Why? Like, what's the purpose of that?
It's like supposed to be that like while you're rolling on the ground, like if you come on like a canyon or something,
so
you can like basically kind of like do like a little jump thing, but you basically transform into like a mini Landmaster R-wing, and it's like, then why are you in the Landmaster?
So
Landmaster
real quick, I just went to the Star Fox Zero Wikipedia page, right? Scroll down to the gameplay section, and right at the top it says, "See also gameplay of Star Fox 64."
Well, there you go.
And that actually just hurt a little bit.
I mean, as I said, like, I really just don't know how it plays.
I know. All I'm saying is like that kind of hurts.
Do you have a Wii U?
Do I have a Wii U at home? I don't have a Wii U in my
I meant
person.
like, do you in general? Like, do you, the person, own a Wii U somewhere?
Yes, I have access. I'll probably play it, and yeah, I mean, I'll probably have thoughts on it at some point, and it'll probably be bad, but like
most it's like a solid game, but the controls really are getting in the way.
Yeah, I mean,
I can see that being a huge problem, especially in a game where you gotta have like controls that control like butter.
Yeah, I mean, well, this Polygon title is definitely very clickbaity, but at the same time, probably very poignant about
like he writes a review, just doesn't give it a score.
No, I know. It's probably very poignant about what's the issues of it are.
Yeah. I'm glad that they're talking about it and making it clear. I mean, here's the thing: like, if you design a game that's as precise as Star Fox like needs to be almost all the time, and you give it controls that like don't work, you're just not gonna have fun with it. Like, part of the reason like this game worked back in the day was tight controls, play good, and it's arcade, and you gotta be fast, you gotta be like kind of smart, maybe you gotta
know how to mash that A button.
Along with this, Platinum Games, who were co-developers on Star Fox Zero, their president has reportedly stepped down.
Well, you know.
What's that, Chad? We can't hear you.
Yeah, I didn't really say anything. I kind of just grunted into the mic.
You really gotta stop whispering into the microphone.
I'm not whispering.
He's kind of just grunting.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
It's kind of one of those just...
I mean,
well, there you go.
Platinum has I don't know. Platinum kind of went in a direction when they were like, yeah, we're going to be like a second-party developer with Nintendo that is kind of like been really weird and like probably not the best for them, because they put out Wonderful 101.
Yep.
And they put out
2.
And Bayonetta 2. And I mean, both of those games were good, but like you're on the Wii U, so you're already handicapping yourself there.
Yep.
And I mean, I get that Bayonetta 2 could have never happened without Nintendo, so like I kind of get doing that. Yeah. And the Wonderful 101 was kind of like a, you know, almost like a favor kind of thing. Like, let's be real.
Well, Bayonetta 2 looks really good though for a Wii U game.
It is
a good looking game.
No, it is. I'm not faulting either of those games. I'm just saying they kind of hitched their wagon to the wrong horse, if you know what I'm saying.
Well, they didn't really have any options.
I mean,
arguably.
Nintendo came to them and said, "You can make Bayonetta 2,
but they can make other games.
But you can only make it for the Wii U."
I know. I'm saying they put a lot of resources into Wii U games, and I get that. Like, again, they made Bayonetta 2, which they wanted to do, and nobody was going to let them do that. And they made Wonderful 101, which I look almost more of a favor, because that was like launch window. Like, they were getting the Bayonetta money, so like they had to put something out.
2013.
Yeah, launch window.
When did it came out? 2012?
I think it
Wii
was.
U? I don't even know.
I'm pretty sure it was launch window.
I thought it was 2013.
Wii U, let's see. In America, it came out November 18th, 2012. And
Wonderful 101.
So 2013.
Yeah, essentially. It's also only sold a little bit over 12 million units.
Yeah, so like
the
Wii U.
not doing
That's
too well.
terrible.
Not great.
Like that's not even not great. That's bad.
That's why the NX is
Yeah.
what it is. Well, I mean, we don't know anything about the NX really, but
Okay,
we know that it exists.
August 23rd. So let's call it 6 months and call it launch window.
That's close.
And as I said, they had to kind of put out something to like get a title out for that Bayonetta money, kind of like, you know.
So,
but then they had that Transformers game.
Yeah, Platinum. Well, before that, they had The Legend of Korra, which was pretty poorly received.
Yeah.
Transformers Devastation. Everyone was like, "Man, this is exactly what we wanted out of a Transformers game."
Which one is that?
Devastation, that came out last year.
Is that the really blocky Saturday morning cartoon one?
Yes.
That one's sick. That game's awesome.
Except for the fact nobody bought it.
Well, that's because it's only on the Wii U.
Yeah.
Actually, no, it's not. It's actually across everything, essentially.
I was
I'm
gonna
sorry.
say I'm pretty sure it wasn't, but
It's
okay.
actually not even on the Wii U.
I love Platinum.
This is an interesting
Let me name
conversation
the
we're
one
having about
console.
things which aren't even related to what we're talking about. Okay, anyways, that's
No, we're talking about it.
well, it's not on the Wii U though. That's what we were
So,
talking about. That's what I mean. Anyways, not important though. Moving on.
Weirdly, so this is what you've had happening with Platinum games. You have basically a bunch of games for Nintendo and a bunch of games for third-party publishers. The Nintendo games are only on the Wii U. The third-party games are not on the Wii U.
Yeah, I mean, looking at their... Okay, let's go through their releases. Okay, so we start out 2009 with Mad World.
Yeah, whatever.
And
It's on the Wii.
It was okay, but
Which game?
it was a good design game. Mad World. for the
Yeah,
Wii.
I want them to make another
It was,
one
a
of those.
it was a well-designed game. Then we come with Infinite Space, and that's a DS throwaway. And then we have Bayonetta. So we're starting out pretty good. Vanquish, also a very well-received game. We have
Solid 8,
We have a 2-year gap,
generally.
and we have Anarchy Reigns, which I'm not sure if you guys played Anarchy Reigns.
Oh,
But
I
it's
don't
a
remember what Anarchy
fun
Reigns even
time.
is.
that is a
this
game
one.
and a half. I want that.
Fun
That game
time.
has the best soundtrack.
Oh yeah,
Like they
Kill 'em all.
like hold on, like for 2 seconds though. That soundtrack is literally just taken and used in literally everything. Like every stupid all the goopy Smash mods that people make.
Yeah.
That's like the soundtrack to all of them. You know all the stupid like fighting game tournaments. That's always the
Mm-hmm.
soundtrack. Evo was literally just playing. Like they just
kill
took
'em
it,
all.
slid it in there, and just kill them all. Yeah, I have. Oh, there's two songs from there that I really like. I can't remember which ones they are, but
Kill 'em all is one of them.
the one for Blacker Baron, his theme is like just
Yeah.
so good.
But anyway, then we go into Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance, which obviously is a very big standout.
It's like that, and the Bayonetta games are the standout games from Platinum.
And then, of course, they hitch the wagon to Nintendo. They go the Wonderful 101, Bayonetta 2, and then we have Korra and Transformers.
We also have a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle game coming out some point
and
either
we
this
have-
year or next.
We have Star Fox. So
Korra, I
They
understand.
slated
Star
Teenage
Fox, I
Mutant
understand.
Ninja Turtles under this year.
Yes,
these
and they
Transformers
also-
should have sold well, I think.
And
but
we have-
I'm sad it didn't.
and we have Nier coming out, which is
well,
going
near Automata.
Yeah, well,
Only on the PS4
Chad, you're the only person that I know that's ever played a Nier game.
and
that
Scalebound.
should not be true.
That is
On the
100%.
Xbox
no.
One.
I'm saying that should be different. Is
how
what
does
I
that
mean.
how does that game play? Is it like
Nier's a weird game.
Is it
Nier's
like-
a
They're
really
RPGs.
weird
is
game.
it third person RPG? Like is it action or
Third
is it like
person
turn?
ARPG? No, it's a
action? I'd
yeah.
say.
Is it? Would you recommend playing it?
I'd recommend playing it because it has a lot of weird design decisions and stuff that work, but at the same time, you're like, it's just weird.
It's the one
like
with the
a really
talking
weird
book,
game.
right?
Yeah, it's the Yoko Taro, the dude that does Drakengard.
I should probably
Yeah.
try playing this game. 'cause do you
So-
have it for the Xbox 360?
I have
or-
it for PS3.
Okay, maybe maybe one day Josh will play.
But yeah, it's good. You can beat it in like 8 hours, and there's like 3 different endings. I wouldn't recommend playing through it 2 more times for the endings, but I just looked them up.
Either way,
But yeah, so they
have some really big,
and Scalebound's
hits.
coming out.
and then they have some like kind of whatever, like throwaways. They're very much so like
To
a
a
double A
degree,
game, like a double A developer in a franchise that's either for it like they're a second party developer.
They work on
exactly.
big properties and they don't mess them up. The issue is that they don't sell. But at the same time, their games are good. It's like this weird.
It's like a niche. They're indie, but they're also
It's-
like above that.
It's really weird because
Niche.
by all like measures of sanity, you think these games would sell because they're so well designed and they're not. At what they are, they're good. But at the same time, it seems like there's just no market for them, and they also get big properties.
I mean, I'd
Yeah.
argue that there was a market for Bayonetta 2. It's just
Both
that
the Bayonetta games.
audience wasn't on the Wii U.
Yeah.
And I mean, Bayonetta 1 was hurt by the fact that it was pretty much an Xbox game, and the PS3 port was
Well,
atrocious.
Yeah.
that was the situation for so many different PS3 games. That's just because,
I know, but
cell
that
process.
that destroys your market, especially
everything
when
was
you're
on the
going for a
360.
sequel. Like,
Everything that was developed on the 360 and then moved over. But so either way, like it's interesting that like the president steps down right after like basically wrapping Star Fox Zero.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that
Whether
was
that
probably
has something to do
That
with
is
it.
definitely not a good sign.
that definitely is connected. I would say.
Yeah, and it's
I'm guessing it was probably he saw it through, but he doesn't like where it's going, and he doesn't want to be responsible for what happens, which
Yeah.
probably means bad things for Nier and Scalebound.
So-
to be honest,
I actually don't really care for Scalebound, but that's beside the point.
I mean, it's not a matter of what you care; it's a matter
Yeah.
more of the company's direction and what they're putting out.
I've had very mixed feelings about Platinum Games, and before that, a lot of these employees worked at Clover Games.
The other, yeah,
They have
Clover's
very
good too.
hit and miss. Like some games are really really good, like 90s on
Clover did
Metacritic, and some
Okami,
of them
didn't they?
yeah,
Yeah.
90s on Metacritic,
Clover
and some of
also
them
did,
are 70s on Metacritic.
God Hand,
and-
if I remember.
I don't know.
correctly.
Yes.
What's the difference between a 90 and a 70 on Metacritic?
I mean, that's
One is,
one game is getting lots and lots of nines. Another game's getting lots and lots of sevens.
But I
of
feel like
reviews.
a 7 is like
A
still
7
pretty good.
isn't bad.
the difference is one is a dead franchise and the other is a sequel.
But like the thing is, you look at, like, let's say you're going into a store, right? Or even like, let's say you're even above that. You're looking on Metacritic for games, right?
Okay.
As some people
yeah,
do.
you know, I'm gonna
You're
go
not
for
gonna-
something that's a 90
You're
or a
not
7.
going to get the 70.
I'd argue that
I don't
Clover
know.
never
Ever
missed.
since I started using my anime list, I've been
God Hand's
reevaluating the 10-point system, and I'm starting to use 5 as an average score on
See,
a 10-point
the 10-point system isn't very good.
Yeah, 5-star systems make more sense, but I mean, that's neither here nor there. But that's part of my problem with Metacritic. You know, it's out of 100.
Chris,
but
you're out of the frame, by the way. You should slide over a little bit more. Thank you.
I mean, to be honest, if you want to think about it, it's the difference between like a 3-star and a 5-star. That's probably more
It
the
is,
better way to
yeah.
do it. So, like, if you're looking at a 5-star scale and you're trying to think of
Chad,
it in that way,
Can you move slightly to the left for me?
Yeah, let's go.
Thank you.
If you're trying to think of it in a 5-point scale, which I like a lot better, it's the difference between a game getting a 3 and a game getting a 5.
Well, yeah, that is a huge difference. But at the same time, it's like, I don't know. That's the 10-point rating system's
That's
neither
not
here
what
nor there.
matters.
Yeah.
But like you have these like games that are both critically received and like publicly well
But,
received.
you know, it's like the difference between 70 and 90 is a dead franchise and a sequel.
Yeah.
Yes, that's
Which is, I mean, I feel like that's kind of absurd. Like,
it is absurd, but like that's how they look at it. If you look at the industry, that's a lot of
We
times
want more 90s.
a lot of times payouts are
only
literally
90s
based around.
kids remember the 90s, though. We can't have more 90s.
Yeah, but a lot of times, if you look at it, a lot of times bonuses and payouts and stuff are based around if they hit Metacritic.
This happened
score
with
marks.
Destiny. Like Destiny didn't hit their hit the Metacritics that Activision wanted, so they weren't getting thousands and thousands of dollars of bonuses.
Didn't they get like an 89? They were aiming for a 90 or
Oh
something.
no, they got like a 70 something.
Oh really?
Destiny's Metacritic is pretty rough
I didn't know.
because people weren't very happy with like Endgame and like a lot of things. But
Yeah,
I know
the
there's a-
base model of Destiny is not super good. The DLC,
although it's like
adds
$15 now,
something.
so I've heard the big expansion was good. Anyways, that's beside the point.
And
So
it's weird because Japanese CEOs usually don't step down from
for
stuff like
presidents,
this.
yeah,
They usually ride it out. The Japanese are very like company orientated. Like you work for some place until they get rid of you, and if they get rid of you, it's seen as like this shameful thing. Where,
Yeah.
like it's almost like career crushing and soul crushing. But they're very like almost kind of like the old stereotypical American way of like you work your way up at a company and you're there forever and you work there 50 years and you retire from them and like they don't quit in the middle. Like if they're gonna step down or walk away, it's because something shameful has happened and they're taking like repercussions for it. So it makes me wonder almost if something's going on and he's doing that.
to me, it sounds like Star Fox Zero was a lot of Nintendo meddling and going, we need you to put these controls in. We need you to use the gamepad. It was Platinum trying to make a game and then Nintendo stepping in and going, make a game for the Wii U gamepad, not make a game.
Which seems to be the
For the
issue.
Wii U.
I mean, it seems like if they made the same game and they just like were like, hey, you can plug in a GameCube controller and use that instead, it'd probably be pretty
All
good.
right. Like,
So Star Fox Zero is pretty bad.
It's okay.
I mean, it's all right. We like Platinum Games. They make some good stuff. So, Josh, you watched a movie, right?
Yeah, I did watch a movie. I watched an older movie. I watched a movie from the 1970s called Death Wish for God knows what reason.
Tell us about Death
I
Wish.
think I watched that with my dad.
We probably did, honestly. Death Wish is...
Didn't you say there's like
old.
5 of them?
There's 5 Death Wish
Is
movies.
there a sex scene in it?
There is a...
It's called
it's
Death
not.
Wish.
It's not a sex scene. There is some nudity in this movie, and
Okay.
it's...
I think we're thinking of the same thing.
There is some things there's sexual violence in this movie to a very graphic and high degree, but it's not like it's a movie in the 70s, which is what makes this kind of surprising. The 70s were an interesting time for movies apparently, because this movie came out and it's just interesting in general. Is my mic on, or am I just mute? I think I might have just turned out the volume for
You might
myself.
have just turned your own volume off.
You
Could just
turned
be-
your volume.
You sound
up.
fine.
Oh, there you go. Never mind. It was
You
my
still
it's
got
my
green
headphones.
bars across the board.
All right. So, essentially, what happens is we get Charles Bronson playing. You're gonna have to give me a second. I have to remember this. Paul Kersey. Charles Bronson is an actor who you've probably seen in a great variety of things. To give you the one example that people probably remember him from, if you've watched Pulp Fiction, Mr. Wolf, the guy that helps clean up the car, I believe that is him.
The guy who helps clean up the car after they shoot Marvin in the head is Quentin Tarantino.
No,
the old guy.
The old guy
Oh,
they bring
okay.
around. I believe that's him. Give me a second. It's really hard for me to know because I tried searching through and I didn't actually see it there for a second when I did, but I thought I did. Anyways, point is, this movie is about a man in New York and his family is assaulted by criminals. And the thing about the New York that's in this movie is that criminals are like 2-to-1 ratio with human beings in the city. You are like every single person
Are you
on the city
saying that
streets.
The criminals aren't human beings.
In this movie, no, they're not. They're just like these goofy men and like children that just like run around and go like, they make like stupid like slimy noises out of their mouth, and it just doesn't really. They just are disgusting and they're awful and they run around. And so his family, one of them, his wife gets killed and his daughter gets sexually assaulted by this guy, and they run away, and Paul Kersey is understandably upset, and also there is like no way that they can find these guys, and they have like no good evidence to find out who they are because they just randomly ran into the house and killed and assaulted each of them, and then the other one, like the daughter who's still alive, just isn't talking about anything and slowly goes into a comatose over the movie. Really sad. Now, the reason why I watched this movie was because someone just through things that I'd been watching and just various things that I'd heard and read essentially said that this was a movie that you didn't want to miss, not because it was good, but because it was so very weird. And I have to say that this movie is very, very, very strange. And the reason why is just that we have these moments of like intense violence and death and all these weird scenes of just like sadness and all this stuff. And then there's the weird scenes that come in. And it's not just Death Wish 1, but 1, 2, 3, 4, and number 5, which all have these, for the record. And the first movie was made in 74, and the last one was made in 95. So, I recommend that you go and watch the first one and none of the others. I'm going to give you right off the bat. I'm going to tell you it's
Watch
worth.
all 5.
I watched the first one. I watched clips and bits from the other ones. So Paul Kersey's family gets killed, and he decides that he is essentially going to go and start killing the criminals that he encounters. And he doesn't so much go and in this version of New York and the other cities that he visits along the Death Wish movies, like literally just it seems that every person that he encounters that's committing crime, no matter how petty or like evil or whatever, is always just ready for him to kill. It is the exact same thing as the Punisher. The Punisher encounters from Marvel. Punisher encounters someone that he views as guilty, just goes and kills them. Paul Kersey literally sets himself up to be assaulted by people and kills the people as a result. The best example of this is
I remember this actually.
He
just
literally
entraps people.
He's on a train. He's just sitting there with a newspaper, and he's dressed up like super nice, so he looks really rich. And he's the only one in the subway cart besides like this other family. And these two dudes come in, and they got like switchblades on their hips, and like they're doing like the gang movement, which is like this little stupid dance that these guys do, and they're all like slinking around like a bunch of like gross animals. And they come in, like, yeah, they just like look snake people, and they just come in, like lizarding around, and he just sees them, looks at them calmly, and just keeps reading the newspaper. And the other family like sees him and is like, "Oh my God, criminals!" and like runs out of the train like as soon as they get to the next stop. And like you see the guys like look at Paul like
They just
and
like slime around everywhere.
they just walk up and they literally just pull out their knives and like cut his newspaper in half. And he's had a gun in his hand the entire time, pointing through the newspaper, and he just lights them up. Dude, and this happens like at least like 4 to 5 times in the first movie, and I was like, okay, so whatever. And he's just
like that exact scenario with him being on the train with the gun waiting for them.
Yeah,
he just literally always has the gun. Like he has a thing where his coat pocket that he's always wearing like an overcoat, and he just reaches his hand into his coat pocket and grabs the gun at his waist because he cut a hole through it, and then he just shoots them like through his coat or whatever. That's like his thing.
Yeah, basically like
That's smart.
knowing fully the movie that you're talking about, and yes, I did see this with my dad when I was like 6. He's basically like, first of all, not the movie to watch when you're 6.
No,
second of all, this guy's basically like the hatred dude. Like he's just like he's just like I hate the criminals, and he just like entraps them and just like sets up the scenarios where he knows that it will like bring out the bad in people, or even like the people that are kind of on the border, like give them that extra boost to be like, oh, I'm gonna be bad today. I'm gonna be bad today. And then he just like guns them down.
Out of his way
the one
to find people, make them be evil, and then slaughter them.
Yes.
The one that's like famous from these movies, I think it's in the third one that happens, and I went and saw this clip and I watched it, is he parks his extremely nice car not in the driveway, but like out in the street in like an area away from the house in like public parking. And he puts the car there, and there's like no real like, you know he can park in the driveway. There's like space, and you like see this, but he like intentionally parks it out there. And he goes and has dinner with his family, and he starts hearing like crashing noises, and you kind of see him like slowly like perk up his ears and like look outside, and they go, oh, just ignore it, and he just walks outside, and his family didn't follow him at all, and they're just still inside. He's like, I'm gonna go take care of something. Walks outside, and there's the 2 guys who are like break into his car, and they like break the windows, and they take his bag, and they take his radio, and he goes, fellas, what's going on here? What are you doing? And they're like, what does it look like, old man? We're stealing from this car. And he's like, well, you can't do that. That's illegal. And he's like, we can do whatever we want. Get out of here, old man. He's like, well, that's my car. And then they go, well, now you're going to die. And he just pulls out the pistol and shoots them both in the chest on the spot, just turns around, walks inside. And the family's like, we heard gunshots. What happened? He goes, I incentivized them, and he just goes and sits down and keeps eating, and that's the scene. And he literally like blatantly says to his family, like, I pretty much killed them, like that's what he says, and they just kind of like, I want, whatever, and they go and they sit down. There's other ones where he gets like recruited into like literally just wars, and he just like shoots people like crazy, and it's like I'm talking like Browning 1911s, like just sitting up on like a hill, just like mowing people down. Like they didn't even try to have it be about like revenge anymore. It's just a thing that happens. I gotta say, like, these movies, and I'm talking about hilarious stuff that happens too. The specific one that comes to mind is that there is a very notable scene that happens in this movie where we're getting this like outward shot at the police station.
I love that, and like watching Matt try to fix the video because we have no idea what we're looking at. He's running around moving things.
Essentially, we're at like the police station, and there's like this dude on the bench who's like blasting this radio at the cops that are there, and the cops just kind of like look at him, and one of them just goes like, hey, you need to turn off that radio. And it's like, okay, and like the guy goes and shuts it off, and in this like super goofy voice just goes, oh, I need to shut off my radio. Well, you need to go and find my poor little puppy dog because he's been lost for 3 days, and he paints the most beautiful pictures with his little puppy paws. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, this is like a movie from the 70s. Like, this wasn't made as a joke. Like, this was actual writing that they thought was good, that they put in their movie, that supposedly is worth like $3 million according to them. That's like how much money they put into this. And I gotta say, like, for scenes like that and like the car shooting and like the really goofy other stuff that he does, like just the way he ends up killing people, it's always the exact same too. He just shoots them with a gun and he just walks away, and that's what you watch. And this movie is still somehow incredibly entertaining through all that crap.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically just like the story of how a sociopathic like serial killer justifies killing people.
Is it kind of like in the same realm of like comedic violence as RoboCop?
It's more like God Bless America, if you've ever seen that movie.
I have not.
God Bless America is another movie that we should watch at some point, but essentially that one's just about a guy who is watching like late night television one night and just decides that he like hates every single human being. Very much hatred-esque.
That's how I feel.
Sounds like Postal.
But he's there and he's just looking at the TV and he sees one of those girls on that like quinceañera style show or whatever, where they get like Sweet 16, whatever the crap. That's the Spanish version of it. And this girl gets like this beautiful like Rolls Royce, and she starts like screaming at her parents because it's not the right color. And he just looks at this girl, and it says the location of like where it's being shot, and he just drives to the school the next day, sees the girl in the parking lot, just walks up and shoots her. Like straight up, and then just walks back, gets into a car, and drives off.
Dude, this guy must be 4chan's hero.
If you've seen, he's just like this middle-aged, slightly overweight dude, and he's just this dude, and that's what this movie's about, and it's hilarious. And yes, definitely is 4chan's hero.
There goes my hero. Watch him as he goes.
Anyways, completely got off topic there. Sorry, but the point is that Death Wish #1 starts off in like the 70s for a rating out of 7 out of 10 kind of stuff, and then slowly dips down,
descends into
to like 5 out of 10ish over the course of the 5. No, it's really not. It's actually pretty close to a 6. It's like 5.8 out of 6 or something like that. So
5.8 out of 6. That's a pretty good score.
They dip close to being like bad, but they're like.
They're still enjoyable.
I haven't watched
I would consider
5.
a 5 out of 10 to be average.
Like, for movies and for video games, I can understand where that comes from, but in this case, I'm going to call it the 7 out of 10 average, because the first one is average for what it is, and I still recommend all of you to go and watch the movie.
See, a 7's average.
It's hilarious.
I mean,
well, like on a grading scale.
Yeah, but that's why
average.
that goes back into why the 10-point system doesn't really work, because like
we should just have a whole discussion about that.
Anyways, so watch Death Wish 1, maybe 2, probably 3, definitely not 4.
Watch it with your kids.
Just don't do 5.
I'm assuming 5 probably does the same thing that Tremors 5 does, where they give you the entire background and everything that you need to know to watch the movie at the beginning of the movie.
I should mention that Charles Bronson has the face of like an 80-year-old man on like a 20-year-old's body in the first one, and literally all that happens is his hair just progressively gets more and more gray with each film. Like literally in Death Wish 3, he just has like half a head of gray hair and like the exact same body, and just like yeah.
I just find it funny. It's Charles Bronson.
Charles Bronson is like the goofiest looking guy ever. Anyways,
just Bronson.
And that's not that Bronson.
I know.
They have mustaches, not that Bronson.
I know, but they're both Charles Bronson.
Charlie Bronson.
They're both Charles Bronson, though, which makes it even funnier.
I wish they had actual Charlie Bronson to play him, and it was just like this British thug. I mean, it's the exact same story, though.
Where can I watch this film?
You'd have to go and buy it at this point, like I did. Also, one other thing real quick. You just reminded me of something. I'm a closet MMA fan, and I just want to talk.
You're not a very closet MMA.
It's not on the podcast. I'm not really very public about it.
In his own house.
Let's do Josh's little MMA segment right now, because there's some exciting stuff going on right now.
As I said yesterday when we were talking about this, we were talking about sports, talking about books, talking about business.
Talking about babes. BBBS. That was gonna be our segment today.
It's gonna be the new mix.
How the babes doing? Babes are doing great. How's business doing? Business is doing well. Stocks are up. This is gonna be like our thing today. Okay, just real quick.
Thank you.
We are on like the MMA recently just had like the cluster of the universe happen to it, because we had this huge fight going on for UFC 200, which is their big upcoming event, and they were like, everyone's getting freaked out. We're on 197, which is happening this weekend. Going to be a real great time. Got 3 cool fights. John Bones Jones coming back. We got Mighty Mouse Johnson. Mighty Mouse is defending his title, and he's probably going to like be the #1 champ of all time for most title defenses, which is super cool because he streams on Twitch, and he's like an awesome human being, and I like him a lot. But essentially, what happened is Conor McGregor, precious Conor McGregor, everyone's favorite Irish monkey, he is just out of the blue, just tweets, "Guys, I'm retiring. Thanks for all the cheddar. I'll see you guys later." And everyone's like, "Ah, it's so funny." And like, good old Conor McGregor making the jokes. And this dude who does all the old UFC reports and does like all the things, just goes, "Guys, he's not joking," and like posts this online. And everyone's like, "So he's actually retiring?" And they're like, "Yeah, he just decided to retire." So literally, that tweet got retweeted more than like LeBron James's like final like message or whatever of like, "This is my final game, like love you guys," and all that crap. Got retweeted more than like
Kobe Bryant.
Kobe Bryant, not LeBron. I don't play basketball. Sports. Anyways, they got more retweets than that stupid guy, tall guy.
He also got way more just crap
He got
on like
so much-
everything because he recently lost, and everyone's like, "Well,
here's the thing. He was gonna have a rematch. So everyone's like, just train really hard and like fight and beat this guy. And so today he sends out this message on Facebook, and it was like essentially, "Guys, I don't want to go in because I had to do a photo shoot and I didn't want to do it, and I'm gonna go train in the mountains in Iceland, and I'll come back when I've become like a superhuman. All right, see y'all later. Have fun." And he literally just said that and posted that, and that was like his explanation on Facebook. It went into a lot more detail, but every single person just kind of sat back and said like, "Well, that's dumb." And they're like, "No," because they're having him do like interviews every other day, but he's still being a little idiot about it. Like, I don't know, I was going to say other things, but
Princess.
I tried to censor myself. Yes, very much a princess.
Hey, that's sexist.
Against
it's also just a figure of speech."
he's being a little
Rather
idiot.
common figure of speech.
And the thing is that like as much as I appreciate a dude saying like, "Oh, I'm gonna go train in the mountains and become like a super like a badass monk or whatever."
I
like,
hope that the next time he loses, once he is a superhuman monk, he's able to lose gracefully.
He lost
hope he
lost
stops doing
gracefully on
coke.
the last one, and he doesn't do coke.
Whoa,
he
that was
does
an
coke!
accusation.
How do you know he does coke?
Look at him!
What do you mean, look at him?
Look,
I'm sorry that like a
Maybe,
really
like-
strict like diet and exercise regimen makes him look like he does coke. Like these
Yeah,
guys are
like-
incredibly like disciplined.
They also do like drug tests all the time. John Jones got busted for drugs back when he did them, and Conor McGregor is getting tested as much, if not more, than John Jones right now.
Some of these guys are tested 3 times a day. 3 times
like
a day.
all the time, yeah. Like up until like competition, he
this
can't be
doesn't
doing
sound
coke.
like a good to me. This doesn't sound like there's any fun to be had in this.
In what? In this?
Like as a UFC fighter,
do you know how much money he made?
Yeah. Oh wow, you make a lot of money. Except you can't.
Conor McGregor made more money off the last fight he did than you will probably ever see in your entire life.
He
And
also gets
that's
to
great.
punch people in the face for a living.
These are people
mixed-
who live off the raw adrenaline of killing each other.
Yeah, mixed martial arts is weeks and weeks of physical torture, culminating in one night of feeling like a god
10
and
minutes,
on top of the
20
world.
minutes.
If you're lucky.
If-
If you lose, you could potentially burn your whole career up and throw it away.
Yeah,
But
it's
basically just physically torturing yourself for that one night if you're lucky
you're just
of being a god.
You're
It's-
literally just rolling the dice, and like the amount of time you put in just
Yeah.
literally just decides whether or
Yeah.
not you're going to have like a favorable outcome. It's like literally just
I,
who trained harder, who naturally has the better athletic gifts in the first place, and then like who like studied each other better and put more time into it. It's like crazy. It's like preparing for like this crazy
Yeah.
war that these two guys have lasts the span of like 30 minutes for like the longest time if possible. And like I've seen the 30-minute like rounds and what actually happens when you get that far in them, and some people can do it for that long and some people just like gas out by that time. And like it's just it's crazy what's actually going on, that this dude just said to himself like, I am going to make. They had I think it was 10 million they were putting into this photo
Yeah,
shoot
I
that he
believe it.
decided to just not go to.
Like yeah, he's making a crap ton of money, but it's a lot of like, you know, putting yourself through really like regimented like physical like diet, like
Oh no,
lot
it
of
comes
training.
at, it comes at cost, totally.
Like, is it worth the money
Like,
when he has to spend so much of his time training?
So is
for more
is
fights?
every other athletic
Yeah,
profession in the
that's-
world.
I agree.
That's what that comes down to, the philosophy of what do you want in your life? Do you want to live hard and fast and have everything you ever wanted, all the women, all the money, all the opportunities? You die at 40, but you live and you get every chance in your life, or do you just want to live low to normal and just live to 80? Like, it's all about what you want in life. Personally, I take the longer life because I think that more moments and more opportunities will
gives
eventually
more
average
enjoyment.
out to better.
Better quality of
Better
life
quality
and
of life.
better enjoyment. Conor McGregor does have days where it looks like he's doing like insane stuff, but I think that like overall, I think he has to live like a pretty strict lifestyle
Yeah.
like a lot of the other fighters. And
All
like
right,
that's what
so
I mean.
I have a friend from high school who's training to get into professional MMA, and he does a lot of like very like entry level amateur fights, and the training that he does for that in and of itself is already ridiculous, and he gets knocked around so badly. He has permanent cauliflower ear on both ears, and it's bad, like really, really bad.
It's just like a thing that you get from being on the mats for a long enough
No,
time.
no, I know, but like his body is like literally like giving out underneath him. Like he cannot like function a lot of the time when he's not training. Like all he does is train, and then sometimes go out on the weekends and then train more.
Yeah, I mean, it just gets to the point where your tendons are basically elastic bands that you never know when they're going to snap. But like,
This is correct.
I don't know. To me, it doesn't make a lot of sense to be like especially for like UFC, because like they're contractors, like they get so little actual benefits from being a UFC fighter outside of the money.
The whole point of UFC is the exposure and the sheer amount of money that you're going to bring.
You get a
in.
lot of fun publicity as a UFC fighter, and you get to do like
but
a
you
lot
get
of
treated
goofy
like
things.
crap a lot of the time by like UFC.
You're a product.
Itself, exactly.
Well, they used to not actually up until recently when Reebok did the whole deal thing. They used to have sponsors they could have on their own, and they used to have a bit more freedom. In my general opinion, I'm not an expert on this, and I'd say you guys aren't really either. We don't really know how much freedom they do and don't have. Conor McGregor can probably abuse the system because that dude's their money maker right now.
Yeah, I mean,
But,
like, to be honest, UFC is kind of like this black box where, like, a bunch of stuff is going in and going on inside of it, and all we really know is what's coming out. Like, it's not very open and, like, transparent as far as what they're doing inside of it. All we know is, like, the small amounts of numbers and, like, things that athletes say.
That's all we see.
That stuff, like, stuff that leaks out almost. Like, it's really, like, this kind of guarded thing about what they're actually doing. Because, like, there was that, what was the other league that, that was around? Was it not NXT?
You talking about Pride?
Wrestling. I think it was Pride.
Pride or Bellator, one of those two.
Either or.
Probably
But
Pride.
just the whole idea of, like, UFC used to have competitors, and now they're by and far away number one.
They're number one 100%.
But at the same time, they were never as transparent as any of their competitors. Because you had an idea of, like, for example, what Pride was doing, but, like, UFC is just so guarded and secretive, but at the same time so successful for it. It's just
they talked about what would happen.
odd.
They talked about what would happen if Bellator got their crap together and they actually like pulled the league together and then they had competition. And they said that UFC would probably have to start paying their athletes like way more and things would change because they recently got their first like a good fighter, Ben Henderson, and they put him in there. And I'm so excited because he's probably going to become the champ because the guy is really good. But I think people will start actually watching it because he's so well known that, you know, hopefully he'll get some like FaceTime to the channel. Anyways,
honestly,
I don't know.
I'd prefer it if it wasn't a thing of competition and it was more a thing of fighters that dipped in between every league, and it was more so the leagues were just like independently operating events, but the fighters were just people that could
That'd
like
be cool.
more like boxing in that sense, I guess.
they could dip in between everything. Like you could have John Bones Jones fight in, you know, Pride and Bellator and UFC, and it was more just like not even competitive. It was just they're running different events, different things, different fights are going on. I mean, sure, it may be competitive because they'll probably be bidding on fighters and stuff, but like at the same time, it'd probably be better for everyone.
It would be, it'd be way better for literally everyone, except for the UFC itself. But it would be, but we don't care because they're just a huge corporation and they're just abusing the money right now.
Yeah, because right now it's just this whole monopoly, and like it's definitely this thing where the market is only growing. MMA and the interest in it is exponentially growing. The amount of people last year I knew, for example, that had any idea of what was even going on is leagues away from what it is this time right now. Yeah, like, so many people have even just like got a cursory interest in MMA right now, and it's actually starting to take a hold in, I say, popular culture.
For me, yeah, it started to grow when Conor McGregor came in, and now
and Ronda Rousey.
Ronda Rousey did a big thing. I never liked her that much personally, but it was Conor that pulled me in, and now I'm staying for everyone but him, honestly. I mean, I like him still, but he's like the last reason I want to watch it right now.
And honestly, like, MMA is kind of weird, and then it's like one of the last sports where like the hooliganism of old can like still happen. Yeah. Like for example, the whole John Jones fight, like literally all his smack talk about Daniel Cormier has just been him calling him fat over and over.
It's great. I love it, dude. Like the stuff that he's been saying to him is just so.
And don't get me wrong, Daniel Cormier is a monster.
That dude is inhuman.
He's a monster. He looks like a chubber, but
That dude gets in the ring and he tosses people like hundreds of yards. It's like insane. Like just a beast.
like
of a
he
man.
just like King Kong like picks them up, throws them over the head, and just like slams them onto the mat. And then people just don't get up. Some people literally just like tap then.
It's
Again,
just, yeah, it's over.
look at like bodybuilders. Like that muscle is for fucking show.
It doesn't do anything. It's yeah. Like I remember looking at Nate Diaz for the first time and saying like that dude's like got like a little baby dad gut. Like what the heck is this? And I just realized that they do so much cardio that the muscles that they build up are just like barely like
Core is very helpful.
They don't show anything, and it's just like. They don't look like, some of them don't look like they're in shape, but they can run like faster than most of us, lift more than most of us. And so the last thing I want to say before we move on is Georges St-Pierre, like one of the best known fighters, might be fighting in UFC 200. And the
so
best,
hype.
he said the best thing the other day. They had an interview with him and he just said, and he's got this goofy accent, and he just like looks and he just says like, there are 3 things that I love: a woman, of course, the dinosaurs, and the passion of the octagon. And he is now my favorite human being after saying that quote, because God knows he did some like documentary on dinosaurs, and they had him as like the voice in the background with his goofy accent, and it was the best thing ever.
Do you wanna just quickly go over UFC 200 before we move on?
Like who's fighting in it?
Yeah, just like general, because it's a pretty big deal.
Essentially, Conor McGregor was fighting Nate Diaz, and now that's not happening.
So is Georges St-Pierre going to fight Nate Diaz?
We don't know who Georges St-Pierre would fight, and I don't think Georges St-Pierre is even going to fight because he's got. I think he could fight Rory McDonald, not Rory McDonald. What's his name? He's the leader of like the welterweights, I think I want to say, or something like that. Or maybe that's. I can't remember what the weight class is, but and I can't remember what the guy's name is. Robbie Lawler. He might fight Robbie Lawler for his title because Robbie Lawler is like the most invincible human being they have in the UFC, because that dude can just get punched and he just looks at you like don't, and then he hits you and you go down.
He's like an attack dog. Like nothing's gonna stop them. They're gonna bite your face off.
He's also the only person I've seen who can fight full steam through like all 5 rounds. Like he goes like full steam every single round.
Chris, think about what you just said. Bullets stop attack dogs. Like, yeah, you need a bullet to stop this guy, but you're not gonna get a bullet in the octagon.
That's true.
So
You can shoot it through the chain link fence.
You have snipers positioned in the stadium.
There's that fight. There's also Fedor Emeliano might come back from Russia and just bring the Iron Fist and destroy everyone. It's like a lot of options we have there for the title fight. Chad Mendez versus Jose Aldo. I hope they just give them the actual title because Conor McGregor's just running away. I feel like that's the only thing you should do at this point that would make this fair and like acceptable.
Talk about a sore loser, seriously.
Yeah, and then John Jones just was like, if I don't get hit in this like next fight like at all,
Wait,
just
John Paul Jones?
No.
The bassist from
John
Led Zeppelin?
Bones Jones.
And if John Jones doesn't get hit, he's just like, yo, just put me in for that next fight for 200 and just have me fight Cormier, and I'll just do it. And everyone's like, back-to-back camps? You're a savage. And he's like, I did coke when I was in the arena, boys. I don't care. He's just like ready to go. And there's a good chance that he might just literally try his entire life off for this next like fight just to like try to not take any damage. That's the kind of thing that he would do. He would just say like, I need to win, because there's a fight in the past where he just like literally decided at one point, okay, now I'm going to knock you out, and he just did it, and that was like his thing.
Or he could just be like, I'm not going to take any hits. This is going to be entirely on the floor. Just like
He could do that. Yeah, I could see him doing that too.
Hand.
Which would be dumb against Cormier, because Cormier is an amazing wrestler.
Oh no, he would have to do it against OSP, who he's fighting now. He'd be saving himself for Cormier, so he didn't get any injuries. Anyways, enough about that. There's a lot of really cool fights going on. I hope you guys check out MMA at some point, with the listeners and other people.
Watch highlights, honestly.
It's honestly, yeah, just go watch some things for UFC 200.
If you are interested,
try not to get hyped for UFC 200 after that. Anyways, let's move on. It's very expensive though.
Let's go and watch something a little bit more lighthearted and fun. That's your cue, Chris.
That was my cue?
Yeah, watching something lighthearted and fun.
Lighthearted and fun. If you're looking for something lighthearted and fun, the good news is that Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt Season 2 is now on Netflix.
Season 2.
Season 2 is on Netflix.
Where's season 1?
Let me give you the recap of season 1 because I myself.
Wait, where's season 1?
We're season
Season
1.5.
It's also on Netflix.
Cool. Why is that? Can I find them anywhere else?
No, it's a Netflix original.
Thank
Find
you.
it on Hulu?
No,
I literally just say.
it's a Netflix
You
original
started
series.
asking the question immediately after I said Netflix original.
Yeah, exactly. Can I find it on Hulu?
No, you cannot.
No.
There we go. That's my answer.
So, Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, season 2. I have started watching it. I'm about 10 episodes in.
That's most of it, isn't it?
It's 13.
It's most.
It's most
Yes,
of it.
that is most of it.
It's good.
So we're going to talk about that
Good percentage.
next week because I ran out of time before I could talk about it this week.
It's a 5 out of 7.
I'm
Can you give us your feelings so far? Your feelings on the show?
let me
the
give
series?
you quick what is season 1?
Give me a heat check.
Season 1.
What is this show?
Season 1, the Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt follows, you guessed it, Kimmy Schmidt.
Is she unbreakable?
She is unbreakable.
Why
the
is she
reason
unbreakable?
that she is unbreakable is because when she was very young, I forget exactly
grade,
how
I
old.
believe.
8th grade?
If I remember correctly, because I also watched season 1 on Netflix, because Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt is a Netflix original series.
All right, all memes here aside. So, you know,
We aren't memes.
Kimmy Schmidt spends 15 years as a kidnapped. Well, she got kidnapped when she was young, and spends 15 years trapped in a bunker with 3 other women, some occasional other people who come in and out through the bunker at the Reverend, they call him. He owns the bunker.
The Reverend's the important one here.
Yeah.
Was it like
He's the one that trapped them.
Yeah, the Reverend traps everybody in a bunker. It's been 15 years about it, blah, blah, blah. Anyways, first episode is her getting released into the world, and she goes to New York, and she tries not to be, that girl who was trapped in a bunker for 15 years, and she's just trying to rejoin society and not have it be a big deal.
Is it? You can just discard this question as it is explained. Is it? Do they go into why the Reverend trapped her in the bunker?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Is that like a early
So
on thing?
essentially, that's the whole point of season 1 is like it starts off like, oh, I'm Kimmy, like I'm gonna get back into the world, and then like around the 5th episode, they're like, hey, do you want to send the Reverend to jail? And she does. So that's the whole like season 1 is all about trying to get justice for it, and essentially what happened was the Reverend was just crazy and wanted to start a cult, and he started one, but then he led the cult, but also at the same time, left the bunker and did other things and was like a real person, but just kept these girls trapped in the bunker the whole time.
And he just kept them trapped. It wasn't like a sexual thing or anything?
No, he
just
just
trapped
literally
them.
he dressed them in like I like
18th century,
like 18th century like Puritan dresses and like
Yeah.
bonnets and everything, and
But
they
like, he otherwise took care of them.
yeah
Like,
they were
No, they were
fine.
fed, they were clothed, and they bathed, but
Almost.
they're just trapped.
they just couldn't leave.
They just couldn't leave this bunker,
and they thought the world was over.
oh yeah, that too.
That's
that was
kind
a
of
big
like
deal.
the big thing there.
oh, so like
So-
he
Yeah,
convinced
Yeah,
them.
this
yeah,
is
he
one of
lied to
those,
them and said, "Oh
like,
yeah, the apocalypse happened.
11
Come with
Cloverfield
me."
Lane situations.
So the Reverend's played by John Hamm, just so you
And-
know.
So if she was kidnapped in 8th grade, you said, right?
Yeah.
And it's been 15 years.
Yeah.
She basically ended up missing the whole like technology boom thing.
Oh yeah, this like one
Which
of
is
the
a big point of it, I'm guessing.
yeah one of the big
Yeah,
points
this
of
is
the
set, like,
series is
now.
that she missed like the .com boom and everything, and
well, she was like right
like she was
at the end.
yeah
Like,
'cause
basically
season
Y2K
one came
was
out,
happening.
Yeah, season 1 came out like
Last year,
early last
year,
and like it takes place
Early
in the modern
2015,
day.
excuse
so
me.
she's in the bunk. She like comes in like right at like around the same time as Y2K and everything. Like
Yeah.
that's when she gets kidnapped.
She basically like went into the bunker when you couldn't be on the phone and on the internet at the same time.
Yes,
Yeah.
actually, that's a really good way of looking at it. But now you can be on a cell phone on the internet and talking to someone at the same time.
So
Alone.
season 2 so far pretty good. Not nearly. I don't think it's nearly as good as season 1. They like it's more of the same.
It can't be as inventive as the
Yeah,
first
I'm
season.
gonna be honest. This sounds like something that you do a season of, and you'd get everything you're gonna get out of it.
Yeah,
in
the
the
I
first
mean,
that
season.
sounds like
the
it to
first
me, too.
first season is really good. I thought it was very funny. They end it with a bit of a cliffhanger. You
Yeah.
know, they're like, they say like very much that there will be more of this show, and more isn't necessarily a bad thing. One of the gripes I have is that they fleshed out the characters a lot in season 1, and So in season 2, Kimmy, like, you get more of
I
just.
don't know. They're arguably still like almost caricatures.
They are. They're fleshed out, but like some of them just are like
Yeah.
too much. There are some characters that are just too much now.
My opinion on this show, like I really like the show. I like the first season. I haven't watched the second one. I probably will. It's that it's almost like trying too hard to be quirky with like a lot of the characters.
Yes, I will. Like season 1,
it does a really good job of it.
Does a really
like,
good job of
but
being quirky.
It does try a little hard with like being quirky and like having like the black gay guy
quirky
and things
to
like
the
that.
next level. Like season 2, there's a huge point in season 1 that I don't want to spoil about one of the main characters, Jacqueline, and the end of the season, she like comes to terms with this huge thing in her life, and then season 2 starts, and she's like, "This is who I am," and everyone's like, "We don't want you here. Go back to New York." And then she does that, and like all the character development's just over with. It's like
that can happen to people.
You did that, and now nobody cares.
Look at Ferris Bueller's Day Off. He didn't gain or lose anything out of that day off.
It was more about the journey.
Just had a good time.
Well, yeah, but I mean, if you
they lost a car.
They spent all of
Not his
season
car.
1 like making this a big deal.
True.
Yeah.
And then they throw it all away.
Yep. That is lame.
Which like happens, but at the same time, it's like, then why even bother including it?
I guess
You were just gonna retcon it anyways.
Yeah, it seems like, I don't know, it seems
I
like
feel
a
like it might
writing
come back.
pitfall kind of thing.
Maybe. But
Seems like they just like invested a lot of time in it, but at the same time it didn't weave in with the other things they wanted to do, so it ended up being like this isolated island of the story that like they visited it and then they left it, you know what I mean?
maybe. But like
they got trapped on a boat essentially.
Yeah.
So, Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, season 1. Kimmy goes to New York, grows up, enters GED class, starts doing things she didn't get to do in the bunker. Meet people, kiss boys, date boys, work a job, make money.
Date multiple boys
like,
at the same time
not
without
date
realizing
multiple
it.
boys. I mean,
Got a polyamory aspect to this show, hey.
Shouldn't even know.
she goes, she
Gotta
does
make
some
up for lost
things.
time in the bunker.
She gets into
She
some...
wasn't a cult, I guess, kinda,
What?
maybe.
Whatever. She was in a cult.
Season 1, I'm going to give that a 4 out of 5. I'm going to give season 1 a 4 out of 5.
It was a good show.
I liked it.
Go watch it if you haven't.
Season 2 so far, I'm going to give it a 3 out of 5.
Okay, sounds good.
But again, I haven't finished it, so I'll give you more information on that next week.
I would love to hear.
But you can find this on Netflix. It's pretty good. It's worth a watch. I mean, at least once. You'll laugh.
Netflix original series are usually pretty good.
Yeah, you will definitely laugh. You will enjoy it, and Kimmy's a fun character, and Titus is a fun character, and Lillian's a fun character. They're all fun characters.
They
and
are
they
fun
interact with.
characters.
And then it just kind of is like, all right, more of the weirdness. Why don't we have something else? But that's just my opinion.
All right.
Just before we move on, a little mood check though. Josh and I expressed the opinion that we feel like this would probably be better as like a shorter thing. How would you feel about a third season?
A third season?
Do you think that'd be too much, or do you think that would be okay?
It depends on how
The next few episodes
It
go?
depends on it depends on how last.
I was just wondering. Okay.
Like if they can be like, okay, we want to do something more with this show in the last few episodes, and they say like, hey, there's actually something we want to explore, and it's an interesting topic, then yeah, I think that'd be all right. But as of right now, it's just more quirky Kimmy, more quirky Kimmy, more old senile Lillian, more gay Titus, and it's like, all right, we get it. All these characters have these flaws. What else do they got?
So, real quick, talking about this, have you guys seen the TV show Sense8? Did we talk about that in here
It's
at
the
some
one
point?
with all the characters that are like connected or whatever.
Yeah, they're all
I've
connected.
heard horrible things about
Yeah,
that
I
show.
watched the first episode, right? And this kind of does the same sort of thing where it's like, oh, this is our black character that's gay and very stereotypically so, right?
Yeah.
They're almost shoehorning in these characters. And everything else about Sense8 aside, they introduce one of the main characters through a lesbian sex scene with their partner.
Yep, that's what I remember hearing.
Nice.
Like, That's not how you introduce one of your main characters.
I mean, you could. It depends on how you do it.
but
though.
like it's like
You-
it's
Depends
like
on how loud of a statement you want to make about that character.
Yeah.
it's like blatant and like obnoxiously like.
So it's exploitative. It's not
Question,
Yeah.
question to you: how much
No.
of the show have you actually watched? Is it
I've
just
watched
the
that
first-
one episode because
Are
I
you- are you
didn't
gonna-
get it. I was entirely confused.
Are you done with the show? You
No.
think you're gonna watch it anymore?
No, I'm not gonna watch. I watched one episode and was so confused,
Did you,
and
did
I
you
didn't
see
care.
anyone? Did anyone die?
Yeah,
Yes. So what I've heard about the show is it's all about them being connected, and I heard that like almost all of them die. Anyways,
Like,
I ruined it
it's
for
whatever.
you. Don't watch it.
don't watch Sense8. It's not very interesting, and also like, Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt's real good though.
It's it's pretty good.
Chris, have you watched 24?
No.
You
With-
should, you
with
should watch
the,
the first season of that.
Kiefer Sutherland. Yeah. Fake Snake, you mean?
Fake Snake.
Fake Snake.
Jack Bauer.
What
I
was
don't
that?
have time to invest in a show that's going to
It's
take
only
up way too
24
much of my
hours.
time.
It's great, man.
Oh god.
It's great.
So let's
good.
let's bring things down a little bit.
Yeah, down. Sad.
So last week, Japan was hit by a couple of really terrible earthquakes.
And the details are still shaky.
Ha.
But did some damage.
So what was the
So-
magnitudes?
I think it was, if I remember correctly, it was a 7.1 initially. And
pretty high.
no, I think it was a
That's
5.
that's
no,
pretty high.
It was a 5, and then they had an aftershock of a 7.1.
Jeez.
That's
Aftershock
strange.
was supposed to be lower than.
Yeah, not always.
So
Yeah,
they
they
don't
got
have to be.
Did,
they got
did
basically
this-
they got a
Japan
So
doesn't
did
play
this
by the rules.
earthquake
Even their
Also,
earthquakes.
keep
cause
in
a tidal
mind-
wave in another Fukushima. Or
No. This was
God.
actually like on Japan and not like out in the middle of the ocean somewhere where it could cause a like tsunami kind of thing.
Okay.
Anyway, basically they got like the 5. I remember reading about it and I was like, "Oh, Japan got a earthquake. Like 8 people are dead, a couple dozen people injured. It was like a 5. Not the best, but yeah, there's some that's not good. So sad. And I was like, "Oh, dang. Japan, why you gotta have sad things happen?" And then I remember waking up the next day and it's like Japan hit by 7.3 quake, and I was like, Japan, it's supposed to be less, not more.
Boy.
It's a rough time for Japan.
And like, I think if I remember, death totals are I think it was above 50 or something. It was not.
It's getting up there still.
It's still rising because a
Yeah.
lot of the injured were pretty badly injured, and as such, perishing.
Things happen.
And I know the injury numbers were, I think, in the hundreds at least. They're not doing good. I think Matt's looking it up right now. He can probably give better numbers, but
So Japan doesn't use the Richter scale.
they don't.
they don't.
No, they use a Japanese their own like earthquake intensity, and the highest is a 7.
From what I heard, is the numbers I got are translated to the Richter scale.
Okay, that's good. I
Yeah.
was gonna say.
So a level 3, which is pretty low, is felt by most people in like that area, that zone. Level 4, most people feel it, and then 7, which is what this earthquake was in Kumamoto, right?
Yeah.
Is essentially like I'm reading japantimes.co.jp. A level 7, quote, the maximum on Japan's earthquake intensity scale is a panic-inducing event that has been recorded only 4 times.
Yeah, it was bad. And
That's crazy.
That's to preface that this was like. Now that I think about it, I think it was translated to Richter, but it could be on the Japan scale.
It's
on the
definitely on the
Japan
Richter
scale,
because these don't feel like there's like not a lot of like things in there.
But like for example, the 5 is bad enough. That was like a bad earthquake where like people like if that happened in your town, it would be a thing that would be an event remembered for 10, 15 years. Like that would be the kind of thing that like people
It'd be
wouldn't forget.
yeah.
It'd be memorable. It'd be like the blizzard of 78 kind of thing. Like it would be bad. Everybody would have known that happened. Stuff would be destroyed. It would be like the tornado that happened around here a few years ago. Like something not easily forgotten. But then to have it followed up by something even more tragic is like horrible. And the reason why this is coming up is because, of course, I talk about anime, and that deals a lot with, Japan and what's going on in Japan. And this isn't me diminishing what's going on, but as a result, a lot of programs and stuff were canceled. First, as a result of being in concurrence with the earthquake, much in the same way of like, if something happens like that's really big in the US, most of the channels then start airing news instead of the regular programming. So a lot of stuff just plain didn't air. And then in addition to that, there were a few...
On Thursday evening, the residents of Kumamoto, Japan experienced a 6.2
few what?
magnitude earthquake.
We can hear that
Worst
in our headphones.
shaking Japan had felt
Hear what?
since the
That.
8.9 magnitude earthquake.
This is
back
playing
in
something?
2011.
Yeah.
And just like
Huh.
What?
earthquakes of this magnitude,
The more you know.
I don't hear anything.
I just paused it.
Anyway.
Sorry about that, everybody.
Yeah,
if
to
you
go.
just heard that. That's from CNN.com.
Yeah, to go on. Basically, a lot of stuff got canceled day of because they were covering the earthquake, obviously. And then a lot of stuff got canceled because of clientele or collaboratives or the studios themselves being affected by it. So there really wasn't a huge amount of anime that came out this week that was one good or two happened at all. Like, for example, the biggest hot stuff on the block is Cabaneri of the Iron Fortress, which is actually an Amazon Prime exclusive.
Huh.
But that didn't air at all this week. So that's kind of
Cabaret of the Iron... What?
Cabaneri of the Iron Fortress.
What is that?
Fun.
What is that about?
It's kind of like... Best I can describe it is it's like this weird Attack on Titan-like thingy. But
Okay,
like,
good enough. I got
Yeah.
the... There's
So,
probably jetpacks and swords.
it's like Snowpiercer, like Attack on Titan.
All right.
They like drive around on a train, which is the Iron Fortress, and they all like live on the train. This is from what I understand, and there's like Titans that try to attack the train, so it's like Attack on Titan mixed with Snowpiercer,
Works for me.
I'm down.
and it's pretty good.
Bakano.
The production
Bakano
values
the Titans.
speak Bakano.
Bakano the Titans.
There's actually a very Bakano type series out right now called Joker's Game, which is set in kind of like the 60s, like not 60s,
that-
like 40s, 50s.
Did that come out?
Yeah, it's coming out right now.
No, I mean like because of the earthquake thing.
I think it came out, but that happened earlier in the week. That episode released before the earthquake.
So are you saying that the quality of the shows diminished during this time?
There was a
or-
noticeable dip in some of the shows because stuff, that was supposed to get done for episodes was kind of chopped together because, as I said, collaboratives and stuff like outsourcing
Yeah.
probably didn't happen.
Oh yeah.
Stuff that they were expecting to get done by, contractors just didn't happen. And that's not even like I'm sure that's like a thing that will be dealt with as it will, but it's like a thing that you can't really even blame. But anyway, so in regards to this, there's really not a lot to talk about. I mean, I was going to do a little overview of how things are doing, like a heat check, because we would have been 3 episodes in on most shows, so I could have been like, hey, jump on this, or hey, don't jump on this, jump off that. But
Jump off of the train.
Jump on it.
But since we really didn't get a lot, or we didn't get a good indication of how the shows are going, I can't really do that. So instead, I'm going to talk a little bit about the recent release on DS, Bravely Second. It's the sequel to Bravely Default, which was probably one of the best games I played in its year. I think it was 2014 when it came out. And
It was very well received.
it's good. It's good. Let's just not going to say a lot about it because it's basically just like what happens when you are like, hey, we should make a classic JRPG, but give some new school conveniences to it, but still keep what's important to it and have it play really good and have this really good system of the Brave and Default system, which is what
It's
they
part
have.
of the combat system.
It's part of the combat system, which basically allows you to, in the turn-based mode, to basically save up turns or use extra turns.
Oh yeah, these games. I forgot
Yep.
about that.
And it's this really fun and interesting system where you end up skipping turns or using extra turns or using extra turns you don't have. Or it's just this really interesting, weird way to play a game that works and could have been horribly wrong. It sounds like a thing that you can just imagine even without playing the games. You're saving up turns, using up extra turns. It sounds like this would be a game that would be really hard to balance, but it works, and it works really well. But anyway, so Bravely Second came out, and as some of our listeners may know, because we talked about this when Fire Emblem came out, the localization team of Nintendo of America, Treehouse as they're called, has not been doing the best with localizations lately.
So real quick, Famitsu, how is it pronounced? Do you know? Famitsu, which is a Japanese publication, gave Bravely Second a 36 out of 40, which is each the sub scores of all nines, which is
It's
real good.
It's 4 reviewers that independently give scores.
To put
and
it
it's
simply,
in 40
Bravely Second's also a good game, according to 4 reviewers in Japan.
that are generally relied upon for really accurate, like. These are the guys
You
that
have 4
usually
reviews.
Yeah. What?
It's 4 reviews in one.
Yeah, it's 4 separate reviews, and Famitsu has always had this really.
They're good.
This good reputation of like giving good, like mood checks on like how a game is.
You're liking these heat checks.
Yeah, I'm
and
liking
mood
the heat.
checks
I'm liking the
today.
heat checks today. But I don't
know how
I
hot
like
it
the
is.
term. I like the term. But anyway,
It's hot out.
so Treehouse has had some localization troubles, and we talked about it a bit with Fire Emblem. And Fire Emblem, I guess you could argue that it affected the story, and it definitely affected the characterization. But for the Fire Emblem's really about the
It
gameplay.
affected the minute details of the story, but not like the overarching themes. I think
I mean, from what I really don't want to go into Fire Emblem at this point again.
But like, would you agree that's kind of more of what it was?
More from the
It
more
was
I've read about
details, not.
From the more I've read about it, it seems to affect more than I thought it did. But being unable to play the Japanese version, I don't know how much is just a niche of people just getting
and
really
how much
upset
people
about
are
it.
like annoyed that it's different at all.
Like a lot of the stuff to me seems like problems with the actual game that like aren't helped by the
Yes.
translation.
Okay.
But at the same time, a good translation probably could have helped alleviated some of the problems with it. So, I don't know. But it's definitely not good, and we can leave it at that. So, I can say that Bravely Second has some decisions that aren't really well received. First of all is there's a class, the Tomahawk, that, as you could guess, was very like Native American inspired. And so
Was a Native American.
yeah,
wasn't even inspired. It's exactly what it is.
It had a headdress thing, and basically they brought it over here and they turned it instead into a cowboy and covered up the female versions. So, I mean,
as is pretty standard for translations.
And like, that's one of those things that I'm like,
I mean,
that's like
I wish Gurren Lagann had gotten localized better.
I mean, that's a topic for another day.
Fan service out the wazoo.
But anyway, that's one of those things that like to just put it out there, I'm not against localizing things. I think that if you bring something somewhere, sometimes you have to like adapt it to sensibilities
there are
of
always
culture.
Things that like another culture will not understand just because there are difference between people. Like we are not.
We can't
Japanese.
see you at all.
We are Americans. We will not respond. Like, American audiences don't respond to a lot of Japanese things well. Like, there was that show in Japan about people, conforming to fit through holes in walls. And, they tried to bring that here, and it just didn't do nearly as well as it did in Japan because it's too weird.
It was great, though.
Yeah, personally, I loved it because I love weird Japanese things, as Chad also does. But, most people aren't me and Chad.
But anyway, like, I'm not a localization hater at all. I think you need to bring things over sometimes, and you need to make those changes to either fit sensibilities of a culture or modulate things that are maybe a bit too extreme, and sometimes improve things. For example, I brought this up in our little group chat that we have for the podcast, but a long time ago, Treehouse used to be pretty good with localizations, and they did probably one of the best localizations of all time, which was something that you'd probably not expect, which is Animal Crossing. The original Animal Crossing was pretty much a bunch of like Japanese like stuff really staked in Japanese culture, and a bunch of like, the best way to put it would be like Japanese memes and Japanese like mnemonics and Japanese wordplay that they then took over and localized and Americanized it, and it was all successful, but it kept the same feeling of the game and it didn't change the characters as they were. It's
also a very different game, though.
It is a different game, but I'm saying that it's something that can be done, and it's something that they have done well in the past.
But it's different on a case-to-case basis.
It is. No, but I'm just saying, Treehouse is definitely something that hasn't always been bad.
No, that's true.
I would argue that they still aren't.
In fact, it's something that used to be extremely good.
But it's one thing to go and say, okay, we can take Animal Crossing, which doesn't, it has character personalities and like some story, but like it's not It's not Fire Emblem Fates. Like you know.
I know, and we're talking about a game that at this point is 15 years old. But my main point was, I'm saying this is.
I mean, look
this is a company.
Look at the Final Fantasy games and their localizations.
Which ones?
Like any of them.
Yeah, they're all
Spoonie
pretty good.
Bard. No, a lot of them are pretty bad.
Yeah,
But the difference is that now people can import, the Japanese game, and then
the difference is we have the information
directly
about
compare
it now.
them.
The difference is we have the information about it now, whereas we didn't before, and we also have the ability to convey the information that we know.
To be mad about things.
Basically, when FF3, that's 6 in the actual series,
Final
came
Fantasy
out,
6.
people that spoke Japanese may have had both versions, and they may have had their Super Famicom, and they may have been mad, and they may have compared the two and been like, "What the heck?" But for the average person,
that's the game that you get, and it doesn't matter.
And there wasn't an internet forum where somebody's raging about it, and there was nowhere to go to get that opinion and share that opinion and have it spread like wildfire. But anyway, we're getting off track from the thing that I'm saying, which was more so that Treehouse has done stellar jobs in the past, and recently they've been having a bit of struggles. And the other thing that the next point I was going to bring up was that they did some censoring on outfits. And just weird censoring, censoring that isn't really needed. It's the kind of thing where these characters are generally pretty chibi. And so they were covering up stomachs and breasts, and they weren't overtly sexual costumes, but they were just putting clothes over it. And again, it's kind of the thing where it's not really needed, but at the same time, if I remember, the original one was an M game. And
wait, really?
Yeah.
I thought it was T.
I'm pretty sure it's M, but
That's weird.
I can't remember off the top of my head. I do know it had some serious stuff in it, and I wouldn't be surprised if it
Bravely
was...
Default's T.
Okay. I wouldn't be surprised if it was
Bravely
T.
Second looks like it's also T because it has a 12+ rating from the European standard, whatever.
But it's a game that's, pretty serious. There's some serious stuff that goes on in it, so a chibi belly button isn't going to kill you kind of thing. But at the same time, again, localization. They're going to make changes.
See,
here's the thing I'm upset about. There are 4 endings in this game.
what was that?
There are 4 endings in this game. In the Japanese version. There's 1 ending in this game in the American version. All the decisions that you make in this game that would normally change the story around in the Japanese version could even cause some characters to die. None of them affect anything. None of them set off any flags. They all go to the same route.
What?
No characters die in this game. No matter what action you take at any point, it always follows the same route, and the neutral route is always chosen where no characters are harmed or killed.
So they severely altered the game.
Yes.
So
There are 4 paths this game can go down, and there are 4 endings, and they took out 3 of them, and they took out any possibility of characters being harmed or dying.
Well, that's incredibly stupid
That's
of them.
dumb.
hold on, before we jump to conclusions here. This, to me, sounds more like a budget and time concern than anything else for these people. Could that
This
possibly be what
Are
happened?
you saying this seems like a budget thing?
This seems like budget and time constraints. Treehouse was given, hey, get this done by this time, and they had to go and choose whether or not they could do that, and if they had the resources to be able to bring everything over. That's what it sounds like to me.
You're saying it sounds like they were put in a position where it was like, okay, we can do a path. We can't do the whole game, but we might as well just do a path.
Yes.
Okay. My rebuttal to that would be, from what I understand, the path that they chose is not the canonical path.
That's
Interesting. Well, it is now.
But yeah, if that would make sense if the path they chose is the canonical path. That would be like saying they brought over FF7 and they made Aerith not die.
I mean, that's not something that you can really change in that kind of game.
I know, but that's like
you get the point.
the
though.
comparison.
It's
It's not
difference.
It's not what the game is made to be, and not the. Again, there's 4 different endings, so obviously not all of them are necessarily the way the game actually goes, but they obviously something got messed up here. And if it's a time and budget constraint, then they obviously picked the wrong path to be constrained to, if that makes any sense.
I get you.
And just, it's blatant. It's the kind of thing where, like, if you're doing that, I would say this game took a long time to come out.
Yeah.
Like,
it took a long time.
This game took, I think, 2 years, maybe a bit more. I think it was either end of 2014 or end of 2013 this came out.
Bravely Second came out. Bravely Second came out in Japan April 23rd, 2015. So it's about a year later.
A year later.
It came out in Europe back in February.
Okay. So, but as far, I don't think this is the same port. Like, I don't think this is the same translation as the Europe version either, which I'm pretty sure had all the paths. Can you check that for me?
A rumor from Nintendo Life: the European version of Bravely Second only has good side quest endings.
Okay, because I know
which
that's
is
how.
Also the U.S. version, I would assume.
That's how the U.S. version is.
The English language localization.
Nothing can have a bad outcome, even if you choose all the wrong things, and it's like logically it would lead to a bad outcome. Things just like magically appear to go.
So this doesn't feel like censorship to me though. This is just. It's localization changes. No, I know.
It's not an argument about censorship.
People are arguing. People are arguing about just censorship.
It's just an argument about blatant, incompetency.
Why change something that doesn't need to be changed? Why
is it incompetency or is it a business decision? That was above them.
I wouldn't think it would be a business decision. And
I don't think Square Enix has
the thing that's weird
care to put budget into it.
The thing that's weird about it to me. And I don't even think it's a Square thing. I think it's a Nintendo localization thing.
Okay, we've literally seen Nintendo of America not care about the American audience. Think about how many amiibo they don't think that we care about the things that they care about, and like that's part of the reason why that there probably wasn't a budget for this. Look at how underproduced amiibos were. Look at everything else. Like a Nintendo of America doesn't properly plan for these things.
I don't think it's that they don't plan. It's that they have different opinions on what the American audience is looking for and what they are as an American brand or a Japanese brand in America. Nintendo of America. What do you think of when you hear Nintendo of America?
You're just saying they're out of touch.
Mashed potato samurai.
See, exactly. It's jokes. It's fun. It's family time. It's hanging out with your kids playing Super Mario Maker. It's not...
Really? Because it's sitting in front of a CRT for 8 hours.
Okay, that's great. You're different. That's what Nintendo of America is, though. Like, to the most, like, that's what the image that they want to be at. Like, that's the image that they want, right? We can agree that, like, that's the image that Nintendo of America is looking for. So...
They want to be family friendly.
Exactly. So, as much as the localization team shouldn't change these things, this one sounds like a time constraint.
But if they want to be family friendly, and that's what we've seen, doesn't it then get suspicious if they take out bad outcomes to things and they start removing characters and things?
You don't want your kids playing this game and then their character dies.
It doesn't seem like a time constraint then. It seems like a decision, like a management decision, which is completely different from a constraint. You just, I don't know, you just like led yourself into a different conclusion.
I mean, well, he's not saying that it was the localization team in and of itself. He's saying maybe it was, whoever was above.
It was the management team going, you need to be family friendly.
We don't want bad endings.
I can understand that, but that's still
put
Treehouse.
Something out by this point.
You're right, that is still Treehouse.
That's not the localization team's fault. That's somebody else's fault.
Who's telling Treehouse to take these things out? What is Treehouse marketing these games as? They're Nintendo of America and Square. This is Nintendo of America and Square Enix product. Nintendo of America is kid friendly and family oriented. They don't need blatant racism in character classes. They don't need to be showing midriffs in character sprites, which isn't a big deal.
As I said, those are things that are more understandable. I just don't think that taking out huge portions of games is necessarily conducive to what they're trying to do here.
It sounds like that honestly sounds like a business decision and like a budgeting and management thing.
And that's more what I think is horrible about it. That's more what I think is horrible about it.
Yeah, like
even if it's
this game wasn't given the
I think you can do this game in a year.
Yeah.
It's been done before. The amount of dialogue in, for example, Awakening is the amount of dialogue that's in a JRPG. And
Yeah.
they did that in a year. So I don't know. I just think
Budgets.
it's incompetency.
How many
and
how
it's
many
just another-
games is Nintendo is Treehouse like localizing here? Because it sounds like they've
Maybe
done
too
quite
many.
a few.
Maybe too many.
Yeah.
But anyway, it just sounds like a gross. They messed it up. What is there to say? They messed that up at least.
Did they mess it up? Is the game inherently worse if you didn't know about the Japanese version of the game?
I mean, yeah, the game's inherently worse.
How?
You don't have any agency in your choices. That's a big part of the game.
How do you?
I'd argue that that's kind of important. Like if one version of the game has 4 endings and one has one, that's a big deal.
But if you don't know, does that matter?
But we do.
Okay, that's great that we do. Again, this is for the general public. If you're, you played the first game, right? You aren't a super big video game person, but somehow you ended up getting Bravely Default, a pretty niche JRPG. And you went by Bravely second. And you play through the game, you have a great time. You feel as if your decisions had an effect because you've played through the game once now. Are you getting an inherently worse experience than a Japanese player playing the game and playing through it once, having their decisions affect their game, and that's what their outcome is? Are you getting a worse game for it?
I would argue, yeah.
Without how? If you don't know.
I mean,
Well,
at
if you're
this
doing-
point, you're just asking
If you don't know it's hurting you, is it really hurting you?
Obviously, yes. If
you
we don't
know you have cancer, do you still have cancer?
That's a
question
different thing.
you're asking is just one that you're looking for a yes answer to. The important thing is that we know that there is a version of it that is better, that exists out there, and we don't get it because
Then
somewhere out
import
there messed
the
up.
Japanese version in that case, if you're that worried and peeved about this.
Good thing consoles aren't region
There we
locked
go.
or anything.
There's our conclusion.
Yep. Okay. And there we go.
Mixed nuts.
Mixed nuts.
Prince is dead.
Prince
did
is
die.
dead.
You know what else is dead?
My dreams
My soul.
and my hopes and me.
The Xbox 360.
After 10 years. 10 years.
Xbox 360, you had a well-lived life cycle in my heart. Rest in peace. I'll put a grave for you.
I had like 3 of you.
I can't even tell you how many Xbox 360s I bought.
What a horrible product. Like, actually, though.
Okay, no.
It was a bad consumer product.
No, that's not... Okay, after the initial run of Xboxes, the ones that heavily Red Ring of Death, that sort of stopped happening, and,
Yeah.
consoles malfunction. That's a thing that happens. It's something you have to account for.
Consumer products malfunction. I'm pretty sure the rates of consumer product failure in the first 2 or 3 years is on average under 3%.
Here's what I'm going to say.
For the 360 it was over 30%.
In regards to this situation, let's pretend for a second that the PS3 doesn't exist and that I don't know about it. Like we were talking about a second ago.
All right, doesn't exist.
Xbox.
Xbox.
Good console. I'm okay with it.
Good console.
If I knew the PS3 existed, I probably would
Xbox is still a good
regret
console.
my choice. It's not as good though. It doesn't. There's some things missing.
so-
I kind of liked a lot.
Actually, talking
What's missing that you kind of liked a lot?
PS3 ended
Some
up
of the
being
games, some
a
of
very
the whole
different console.
don't have to pay to play online thing.
Well, that's really cool.
the community,
But my
general
when it
niceness, and
boiled down to
they are different things.
I
So
think
you're right.
the Xbox 360 offered, in spite of not having to pay to play, it offered features
better
for
experience.
that, and it was definitely a more well-rounded experience than playing. I owned both an Xbox 360 and a PlayStation 3. I owned multiple games for both of them, that I just had, and because I had friends who had both systems, and I went, and I can say 9 times out of 10, if I was playing a game that was on both platforms, that I had a better experience playing it on the Xbox 360. Matchmaking was nicer. You didn't have to deal with 12-year-olds using Bluetooth mics where you can hear all of the input from their TV, or the output audio from their TV. You had, party chat systems, which was monumental. It's huge.
I never cared for it, but that's just me.
I mean, that's something I used literally every day.
Yeah.
I will argue with this kind of counterpoint that the 12-year-olds that you met and the 12-year-olds that I met were very, very different people because I, sir, got the static of God blasting through in every single
Would you
match.
like to listen to this Lil Wayne song
It
that I
was
found?
literally just screaming and chaos.
Let me play you the
am
song
convinced
by
I
people.
once heard a parent beat their own child through the microphone.
Maybe you and I just had different times on the Xbox because
No,
every
this
time
was on
I
PS3.
Oh, on PS3. Maybe you and I just had different
So-
times because that was all I got on the Xbox. And when I played PS3, it was like, hey guys, hope everyone's having a great day. Love you guys. Here, have some
I
free
agree,
hugs and
Chad.
When I
kisses.
played Xbox,
Mwah.
I didn't
Love.
go into game chat because I knew there'd be that one kid in the corner.
See,
My point is more so that if you design regardless of how the product works, if you design a consumer product where 90% of the people I know went through 2 or more of them, that's not a good product.
It's not.
Yeah,
no, okay.
I know
that's not a
too.
good
I know
product.
lot of
That's
people
not a
who
good
got-
consumer
It wasn't
product.
good that, like, yeah, but it's not like you went and you had to pay for your new Xbox.
A lot of
with Red
people
Ring
did.
of
Yeah,
Death.
a lot of people did.
I went through 4
Well,
different
congratulations
Xboxes
to you.
due to Red Rings of Death, and I never paid for a single one.
Ignoring the problems that it had where it failed, I'd say it was really good. Otherwise, like there's problems that I have, even though I just bashed it a second ago. I still think I agree with you though, Chris, that I had a lot of fun with it. Like I'm
The
just gonna
Xbox
say I had a lot of
360
fun.
had a production run of about 10 and a half years. And it was the first, like, online-ready console, right? You could argue the Xbox or even, like, the Dreamcast had online capabilities before that. But
like,
this was the first
like
one
the
with
wide
it built
open,
in.
like
It was
Xbox
built in.
360 did not have built-in Wi-Fi at launch.
I'm not saying Wi-Fi, I'm saying
No, he's
internet.
saying, he's
I'm
saying
saying,
online services.
like, online services, Xbox Live was a thing that was designed with the 360.
I mean,
By that I mean the 360. Let me rephrase.
when it launched-
the 360 was designed with Xbox Live.
yeah, like it
They worked
was
in
centered
tandem.
around
Yes.
Xbox Live, which is a huge thing, and it worked.
Huge,
Xbox
monumental.
Live was great.
Xbox Live Arcade was like
Yeah.
the first like
pretty cool.
storefront on a console
But
where you
if-
could go and buy downloadable
Like,
games.
even to this day, like I will argue that for that 7th gen consoles, I will argue that Xbox Live was a better experience over PlayStation Network any day of the week.
I would argue, at least my personal opinion, that Xbox as itself, I think had more like in the moment, in the heat of the generation, Xbox mattered more. But I
The
think
360
now,
until like 2009 was the winner.
but I think
Clear out.
I think now the PS3 by far has more legs than the Xbox
yeah.
360.
Well,
That happened with
I just think the games and the things that were exclusive to that console have more value.
I don't know if you guys
Halo.
remember the starting titles for PS3. but
Resistance
there was,
Fall of Man.
There was a couple. There was a couple real pieces of garbage that came out in the beginning as they were like early starters.
Wasn't there like a motocross game that was awful?
I hope you guys realize that like,
Haze.
everything had really, really bad
The
like
ones
launch
that,
titles
the ones that
outside
I'm
of like
thinking
Nintendo consoles.
Wait, who just said Haze?
Me.
Holy
Yeah, throwback on that one, right?
Mother of God, I
Oh, yeah.
forgot about that game.
Oh
Wait,
yeah.
All right.
Take drugs to fight the bad guys.
Let's talk about the 360 launch games. How many of these still matter 10 years down the line?
Is one of those cameo in the things?
Cameo.
I love Cameo.
Amps 3,
Great game.
Call of Duty 2.
Awesome game.
Great game.
Call of
Great
Duty
game.
2 is
Fabulous.
absolutely
It's a
still
good
relevant.
game. It's a good
Keep
game.
going. Keep
Best
going.
Call of
I don't
Duty.
know if Call of Duty 2 is still relevant. Call of Duty is relevant.
I'd argue
Call of
Call of
Duty 2
Duty
is still
2 is still relevant.
Condemned
It's one of the best
Criminal
games of all time.
Origins.
Actually, a really good game.
Never,
honestly.
Really good.
never heard of it.
Super
actually.
good game.
Oh,
Honestly,
okay.
like for
Condemned
real.
Criminal Orange is like
I looked it up.
really good.
Crackdown.
A FIFA game.
FIFA's always great and
Not,
loving towards
not
the
FIFA
community.
06. The
FIFA's always great and loving towards the community. Continue on. Next.
We had Gun,
Yeah, okay, that's a bad game.
Man.
Cameo.
Great
Cameo
game,
was
great
actually
game. 10
pretty
out of
good.
10. Awesome
I
game.
give it-
Tons of fun. Should have made another one.
36
Would've
out
loved
of 40.
it.
Madden 06, NBA 2K6, NBA Live 06.
Okay, I will
NHL
say,
2K6.
out of all of the games that you have mentioned, I have
The
played
sports ones don't matter.
NBA 2K6 more than any of them.
The sports games don't really matter.
I played NBA 2K6 up until 2012.
Dude, all those matter as a next generation sports experience.
The one that I'm thinking of is they had a game for the PS3. They did this whole thing on G4 back when that was a thing.
Oh, yeah.
They did releases that they had right at the beginning of the PS3 coming out, and I just remember them being like, I just want you guys to like look at the screen. Like this was just someone who was just reviewing the games. And he's like, this is what happens when it was a mech game, and they said, this is what happens when the mechs go through the water, and he touched the water, and the actual land had the same effects that the water did, like the ripples. And he's like, this is like one of the most busted, awful games I've ever played. And it was like one of the launch titles that they had.
Was it Armored Core 4?
It's not Armored Core.
Definitely not
Armored Core
Armored
4 is an
Core.
okay game.
That's one of my favorite games.
I played that a lot on the 360.
I played that a lot on
bonkers.
PS3.
So
Scott,
then you had
bonkers.
Need for Speed Most Wanted, which the 360 version added some lens flares.
Are we talking about PS3 launch right now?
No, 360. So this is all 360. PS3 launched like a year later. Perfect Dark Zero.
Good game.
Perfect Dark Zero. Okay, I found it as somebody who
I
never
don't
played
think,
the
have you
original
ever played
Perfect Dark.
Zero?
Me?
Yeah.
No, it's a good game though.
Perfect Dark Zero is not a bad game. I never played the original Perfect Dark, but I did play GoldenEye 007.
That's a
so it's
mistake.
same thing.
That's
That's
the
a
one where
mistake.
you're,
Literally the same game.
you're the redhead girl and you shoot people and you sometimes
Yes.
go into third person. Great game. 10 out of 10.
Sure.
I really enjoyed that game.
Peter Jackson's King Kong. It's
like a better-
the official game of the movie.
That game's actually
I played that.
very good.
I played that on PSP.
Project Gotham Racing 3, Quake 4.
Okay,
Quick
Project
Gotham.
Gotham.
Okay,
Sorry,
chill out,
Project
chill
Gotham
out,
Racing.
chill out, chill out.
Project Gotham Racing.
It's a racing game.
But
Still
it's
good.
one of the best
a
racing
good
games of
racing
all
game.
time.
Quake 4,
Quick Ford. Great game.
Ridge
Probably has the
Racer
nail gun.
6.
Great game.
Tiger Woods.
Great game.
Having a PGA Tour 06.
Tiger Woods. Great guy.
And Tony Hawk's American Wasteland.
I actually really like that game.
is really good.
Saw is actually really, really fun.
That
That's a
game
great
still
soundtrack.
stands up.
I'm pretty sure
Not as good as Thug though.
out of all of these games,
Thug 2 is pretty good.
about out
one's
of
one
the
you-
18 games available in the United States, I think 3
Thug
of
can you
them
play as
were only on the
Frank
360.
Is that
I mean,
The rest of them were cross-platform
Thug 2.
crash.
It's the best one.
Cameo wasn't.
No, Cameo is the 360 only.
Yeah, Cameo I wasn't cross-platform.
Perfect Dark Zero
Perfect
wasn't.
Dark Zero wasn't
And
cross-platform.
I think that's it.
Read me the list again.
Was Project
No.
Gotham? I don't think Project
Oh,
Gotham.
Project Gotham Racing.
Was
I think
Call
it's
of
only
Duty 2?
360. Call of Duty 2 is on the PC.
Call of Duty 2 is on both, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, so you had...
Okay, so PS3 launch. What was exclusive there?
We were talking about PS3. PS3 doesn't matter right now.
So, but
Oh yeah,
like,
it doesn't exist.
doesn't
you know,
exist.
this is the death. This is literally the end of an era.
You're going out, you're buying an Xbox 360 launch day. You're picking up probably
I remember I got Cameo and I
Quake?
got Project Gotham.
Call of Duty and probably Need for Speed. This is 2006. These are the games you're picking up.
Those
No,
are the
I
games
got
that our generation was
my
growing
Xbox-
up on.
my
Gotta go
first
fast,
Xbox
gotta shoot hard,
came
gotta
with
run,
Cameo and
gotta
Project
transform
Gotham.
into things. I don't know.
I believe you.
Zoom zoom.
So like those are the games. Like those are the big games that came out. You know, the 360 had a great run. It sold almost 80 million units as of 2013. So it's probably sold like 80 million, 83 million or so now.
Yeah,
You know, like somewhere in the 80s,
but like
which is really good.
that's good.
Like so here's the implications of that. So
More X-Bone.
what? 1, more Xbone. 2, Xbox Live is now supporting the 360 and the Xbox One.
Oh,
Right? That's what it's been supporting for
yeah.
several years now. Where are we seeing an end to Xbox Live on the 360? Is it going to live on indefinitely?
I doubt it.
Is it going to get shuttered like it did on the Xbox original?
It'll probably get shut down to the point where like
Many,
you know, like the same thing that happened to all the Halo 2 servers. Like they're gonna probably try to shut down
That's
as
what I'm
many
saying.
servers as they can, and then just wait for people to turn off.
Yeah,
the
but
console.
but also like how long until Xbox Live Arcade isn't available? How long until
Well-
I can't download my downloadable content from Xbox 360 servers?
Oh, that's
Right?
what you mean.
Like how long until this game that I bought digitally, right? Let's say I sell my Xbox 360 and then I buy another one a couple years
Well-
later because I want to play. I don't know. What's a 360 like downloadable game?
Castle
Call of Duty
Crashers.
2.
Castle Crashers.
Monday
And I
Night
want to play
Combat.
Castle Crashers, but I don't want to have to buy it again for 16 cents. So
I paid 10 cents for Castle Crashers
Exactly.
on Steam.
so you go out, you buy a 360. 10 years down the road, let's say you can still log in, but the license has expired, and now you can't even download a game that you bought.
I mean, that's
well,
the inherent problem with.
My
the
guess
problem with
is
DLC,
something what they're going to
downloadable
do
content.
is they're probably going to go and they're going to try to make like some of the like they're going to try to make these sorts of titles available to play on the Xbox One.
Yeah, I agree.
Which is something I hope that they do because like your Xbox Live account whether it's 360
It's linked.
or
It's there.
Xbox One. That's
Those,
what
you
I'm
have
talking
the games. Like, it's not like you don't still have, like, own the games. You just don't have access to them.
I'm assuming like
So, like-
they're not going to shut down like
When are Halo 3 servers going to go offline? 5 years from now down the line?
probably like 30.
The Xbox. Halo 3 is almost 10 years old.
Halo, yeah, it's still got a very active community.
I'm not
though.
saying it doesn't. I'm just saying, like, when is it more profitable for Microsoft to use those servers for something else?
As soon as they can, kick everybody off them.
I have a
They
question.
can just close them.
And can you close servers if people are logged in?
You sure can. It'll probably screw them over, but
Why didn't they do that with Halo 2?
what's up?
If Nintendo localized Project Gotham Racing, would there only be one car?
Probably not.
I mean, would we even really know because we
You
don't
only
have
need the-
access to the Japanese version?
Dude, the GTR is the best car. Why would you need any other car?
I wouldn't say that, but
I don't know, man. That Sprinter True now.
Sprinter true now. So like where are we leaving? Like, where's the Xbox? When is the Xbox 360 actually going to be left behind?
I don't know.
How long until Microsoft just ends any sort of support?
I'd say after they create the next consoles when they're going to drop the 360.
Like, so thinking back, the Xbox One ended production like 6 months after the original Xbox. Excuse me, ended production like 6 months after the 360 came out. Whereas this lasted another 2.5 years after the Xbox One has come out.
I mean, that's
Well,
the difference.
I mean,
that's the
this
difference
is-
between a
we're
loser
talking
console.
about
right?
a console
Yeah.
that can still game in 1080p
I mean,
at
I think
60 frames per second. Like,
I-
it's
I-
not.
3 games.
It's not like more than 3.
I'd argue that's the case of just being a loser console. The Xbox One, the original Xbox, I was about to call it the Xbox One, was a loser console.
What?
So was the GameCube.
The original Xbox was a loser console, and it ended production much in the same way that the Wii U is going to end production and the NX comes out. They're just loser consoles. But the PS2 went on for ages because it was a winning console.
The PS2 ended production in 2013
As I said,
after the PS4 came out.
as I said,
It's so funny.
it was a winning console. Like,
When was the last game that came out for PS2? Does anyone know?
Like 2014. I'm pretty sure it was a Final Fantasy 11 expansion.
for
Yeah, we've talked about this so many times.
PS2, the last game I think was a FIFA game. I think
Yeah,
it was,
it was
or no,
it was
like
a-
PES. It was like PES.
It was a sports game, or it was an expansion to Final Fantasy 11.
Final Fantasy 11 is like still supported on like
it actually
PS2,
just closed on the
and it just
PS2.
like just closed.
But
You could log in to the servers.
Exactly. Like, how long until you can't do that on the 360? What does this mean for people who want a 360 and want to go back and play?
It means
a
that they're
game?
screwed.
I think it's going to be a case by case basis because I
What,
know a lot
what are
of
we going to
games
do in the
have
future?
done private, like a lot of companies' personal servers for games of that generation have shut down or are shutting down.
Yeah.
For example, Square Enix, I think the last servers they have up are for Lightning Returns, and those are being shut down on the 26th.
Yeah.
Lightning Returns as an online feature.
Yes.
The more you know.
Okay.
But anyway, a lot of companies have shut down for that generation, and I mean, Xbox Live would still be up, but what does it really matter if most of the games that you could play
Exactly.
online you can't even access?
All right.
Like,
Guys, I'm loving this conversation, but I have mounds of homework to go do.
So
I'm
don't
thinking
we all
should
probably.
close it off.
We should. So, final comments on the 360 and just
I love it. I loved it to death. It's sad to see it go, but, all good things must come to an end. My name is Chris Catania. This has been Mixed Nuts.
the 360 was definitely an era, but I will definitely say that now that that era has gone, I think the PS3 matters a lot more. So, that's my feelings on it.
I'm just looking at this picture, this little lemon on this unicycle thing in front of me, and I'm just loving what it's got to give. I think. Sorry, never mind. I think the 360 is a wonderful console and it did a lot, and I'm going to be sad that it's going to go. But here's the thing: there's going to be things like 2,000 foot tall giant robot golf that we got to look forward to.
On the PSVR.
Probably going to crush everything that Modern Warfare Poo ever gave to us. Am I right? Oh, crushed and wrecked,
We didn't even-
destroyed and annihilated.
We didn't even get to the Neo either.
Just saying though, I think
we sure
that, like,
didn't. I also wanted to talk about other things, but
I think bigger and better things are going to come along, and hopefully they'll do what it did, and it'll be like nothing ever really happened, but we'll still miss those old games that we used to play, and I'll be sad about it, and hopefully they'll do things that are like them in the future. Hugs and kisses, bye.
Bye, Josh.
Bye, guys.
You haven't seen me at all, but my name has been Matt Leonard. It will continue to be Matt Leonard. And, yeah, the 360 has been really influential on, like, game design and experiences throughout. Please don't... Oh, we're moving things. Oh, boy, you're going to get to see... Hello. Hi. How's it going? Hi, Mom. Making fun of you, Josh. I love you.
Let's just let him close it out here, guys.
So this has been Mixed Nuts. This is a place that I work at. I'm not advertising it, I swear.
Yes, cover your body in shame.
Basically.
Dirty boy.
Dirty boy.
I'm thinking 2021 is when we're going to stop seeing support for the Xbox 360's online features.
That's a bold and optimistic claim.
That's
I
5
like your
years.
ideals.
That's 5 years. That's not that bad.
I know, but I'm just saying it's a... You know, just... Can you...
2018 at the
You
max.
stick your head in that sun and
This
you
has
live
been
with it.
Chad D'Angelo's 2018 at the max.
This has been Mixed
Signing
Nuts. Prince is
Nuts.
dead, and I am sad.